God, I just want a dad for mommy," the innocent voice of a little girl carried softly through the quiet church. She knelt at the front pew, her tiny hands clasped together, her eyes shut tight in a prayer so pure it could break the hardest heart. What she didn't know was that a man, a wealthy millionaire, restless in his soul, had just entered the church to escape his own emptiness. And when he heard those words, something inside him shifted. Her name was Lily. She was only 7 years old, but she already knew what it meant to live without a father. Her mother, Sarah, had raised her alone since birth, sacrificing everything to give her daughter a good life. They didn't have much, sometimes barely enough to cover rent and meals, but what they had was love, and Sarah's laughter kept their tiny apartment warm. Still, Lily often noticed her mother's tired eyes, the way she sighed at night when she thought no one was listening. So, in her simple, childlike faith, Lily began praying every night, for food, for joy, and one day, for a dad who would love her mommy as much as she did. Michael Bennett was the last person anyone would expect to overhear such a prayer. A man of immense wealth, he owned businesses across the country, lived in penthouses, and drove luxury cars. Yet, despite all his possessions, he carried an emptiness inside him that nothing seemed to fill. His wife had left years ago, tired of his long hours and endless pursuit of money. They never had children, and though Michael told himself he didn't need anyone, the truth was loneliness followed him everywhere. On that rainy evening, seeking refuge from his own thoughts, he wandered into the church. That's when he heard Lily's trembling little voice asking God for something no amount of money could buy, a father. The word struck Michael like lightning. He sat in the back pew, frozen, listening. The girl wasn't asking for toys, riches, or even food. She was asking for love, for her mother's happiness. He watched as Sarah walked down the aisle to fetch Lily, gently taking her hand. Sarah didn't see Michael then, but he saw her tired face, her worn-out clothes, yet her dignity intact. She held her daughter close, whispering with a smile, "Come on, sweetheart, let's go home." Michael's heart ached in a way it hadn't in years. Over the next weeks, Michael couldn't get them out of his mind. He began attending the church quietly, always sitting in the back, watching Sarah and Lily. He learned that Sarah worked as a nurse, often taking double shifts to pay the bills. He saw how Lily's eyes lit up every time her mother entered the church, how Sarah's soft singing filled the air during hymns. Slowly, Michael began speaking to them, first with a kind smile, then casual conversations. Lily, being open-hearted and innocent, liked him instantly. Sarah, cautious from years of hardship, kept her guard up. Michael wasn't used to people treating him like an ordinary man. Most only wanted his wealth or his influence, but Sarah seemed uninterested in either. She was polite but distant, protective of her daughter. And that made Michael respect her even more. For the first time in his life, he wanted to prove himself, not with money, but with kindness. He began helping in small ways, fixing the church's broken heater, donating food anonymously, making sure Sarah and Lily's neighborhood was safe. Still, the biggest challenge came when Michael's past caught up with him. Tabloids discovered the millionaire was spending time with a single mother and her daughter. Headlines screamed, rumors spread, and Sarah felt overwhelmed. She confronted Michael, her voice shaking. "Why are you doing this? What do you want from us?" Michael, stripped of pride, confessed the truth. He told her about the emptiness in his life, how Lily's prayer had pierced his heart, how he wanted, more than anything, to give them the love and protection they deserved. Sarah didn't believe him at first. After years of carrying everything alone, trust didn't come easy. But Michael didn't walk away. He kept showing up, not with gifts or grand gestures, but with presence, attending Lily's school plays, helping Sarah with late-night errands, listening when she was too tired to speak. Slowly, Sarah began to see that this man wasn't trying to buy his way into their lives, he was trying to build a family. The turning point came one snowy Christmas Eve. The church was filled with candlelight, and the choir sang softly as Lily ran to the altar once again. She folded her little hands and whispered her prayer, "God, thank you for sending me a dad for mommy." Michael, kneeling beside her, felt tears fall down his cheeks. He looked at Sarah, who stood watching with her hand over her heart, eyes glistening. At that moment, walls crumbled, and a family was born. The road wasn't perfect. They faced challenges: Sarah's fear of losing her independence, Michael learning to be a father figure, Lily's innocent questions about why it had taken so long. But together, they grew stronger. Michael learned that love wasn't about control or wealth, it was about presence, sacrifice, and choosing family every day. Sarah learned that opening her heart didn't mean weakness, but finding strength in partnership. And Lily learned that prayers whispered by a child could move mountains. Years later, when Michael and Sarah stood together watching Lily graduate, Sarah whispered, "You know, she prayed for you before we even knew you." Michael smiled, pulling her close. "And I prayed for you without even realizing it." The story leaves us with this truth: family isn't always about blood, and love doesn't always come when we expect it. Sometimes, it begins with the pure prayer of a child, overheard by someone who was lost, until that moment gave him a reason to be found.